Hi, I'm Lynn. All right, let's get serious. We are going to organize at the grassroots level. And Carrie told you what we're going to do today a little bit. We're going to do step one, and that is you all are going to help us find more volunteers. I'm going to tell you what our long-term goal is, what we're thinking, what we want to have in place by next year. Can we have a light down a little bit? Does that mess you up, Bob? Because I need to be able to see these.
No, it messes you.
Yeah. No, that's fine. How do we organize for success? Okay, we are going to find every Democrat in Southwest Austin, and we're going to get them into minivan or van, and then we're going to get them out to vote. And how do we find every Dem in Austin? The block captain model is what I will talk about today, and that's how we root out everybody. And block captains, what they do is they own and track their turf, and you get to pick what turf. Hopefully it's around where you live, because that's the whole concept, that you know these people and they know you. And it's based on Obama's Organizing for America model, which obviously worked. So we're starting now. Well, yes, we are, because it's a long-term process. And we're going to, like I said, step one, we'll be finding more volunteers. Then we'll talk people into being block captains, because you're going to find out how fun it is. And then the block captains need some time to work their turf, which means they find out the persuasion of everybody in their block. And then we just continue to build and grow, and this takes time. So we start today. And it's a continuous process. We want our infrastructure in place by 2020. Our goal, because it goes 220 for 2020, is 220 block captains, and that, yes, it's very ambitious. We already have about 80. So we'll work to get there. And like we did last year when we did our block walking, where we just grabbed turfs and hit the streets, and we didn't really know the people necessarily. We will do that again to fill in where we don't have block captains. So we'll be doing both. And we're building our army for a full frontal assault in 2020. Yeah. So, block captain model, all it is, neighbors talking to neighbors and friends talking to friends. Why is having block captains ideal? I will tell you. Trusted source. I mean, people, what we did last time was great with the block walking. Face-to-face conversations are the best way to persuade somebody to vote and to hear what they need. But it's better when they know that face. And that face is a trusted source for information about voting. Block captains have a lot of power, because when people see your signs, they pay attention, because they kind of know that they might align with you. So you'll get a lot of attention that way. And I call it my gold star goal, is when somebody tells me, I don't have time to do the research, will you please just tell me who to vote for? Okay, I can do that. Next week. And it's also a notch above just block walking to strangers, because we are building a community and we're building relationships. And you get to know your neighbors. And let me just tell you how block captain concept works a little bit differently from what we did with kind of cold call block walking. So in 354, we've got 40 block captains, and we've been doing this for about 15 years. And we would get our turf from the office, and we'd have our own block within that turf. And you guys tell me, I would go home and I'd flip that thing open and I'd say, well, let's just see what we have here, because I know these people. So I'd see Dina, or I'd see Madison out walking, and he had told me that he and Dina voted the day before. But on my list, it says they haven't voted. There's a lag time that we had to deal with a little bit. So, okay, well, so now I know they voted, and he told me that the boys are mailing in their ballots from school. So I don't even have to go down there. I check them voted. Or I already know their business, like I know Cassie is out of town that weekend. So I just mark her not home, or I could mark her she's going to vote because I know she's a Dem, she's going to vote. Or somebody already promised that they would vote. So I'll just mark them down. I'm not going to badger them a fourth time. I will just mark them down, yes. Or they know you're going to ask, so they're scared to see you. Like on Halloween, all the kids were up at my door, and the parents were standing out there, and I looked up and I said, you know what I'm going to ask you, right? And they all said, we voted. One of them lied to me, and I busted her, but that's because I got the data. Or you already have their contact information, so I've gotten my list, and I'm going through it. I'm like, Wayne didn't vote? Oh, my God. So I texted Sarah and said, Wayne didn't vote. She said, yeah, he did, and she sent me back a picture of his receipt sitting on the counter. So that's how it works. Or it's really, you've gone too far when a neighbor 2 doors down who you haven't seen for a while, who you know has been working in Dallas, she and her partner walked by with their dogs, and I said, are you still working in Dallas? She goes, yeah, and I voted from there. I was just going to ask you how you were doing. Okay, so, all right, and the third thing about why it's better than cold calling is better data. The van will tell us people's primary voting history, because we don't know in the general if they voted D or R. And there's some marketing data in there, like Lauren said, where they're kind of predicting Ds and Rs. We go ask them. So that's what block captains do. We ask people, and I'll get into that a little bit. And so we're improving VAN with our data, and we'll have more efficient get out the vote efforts, like Lauren was prescribing that we're going to do this year. So block captain role. So I am enticing you to think about becoming a block captain. So the hardest part about it is determining the affiliation of your neighbors and getting that information into VAN. And then you're going to also find volunteers on your block. We do a lot of co-BCs in 354. It just kind of lightens the load. And then somebody can handle one end of the street and somebody can handle the other end of the street. And then when it comes around, you deliver the information and you block walk that block. And also, next please, you'll register people to vote, and you'll be the go-to person of the block. Like I said, they're going to be paying attention to your signs, or they'll have questions about their student mailing in their ballot, and you can answer those. And then after that, you just keep an eye on people that are coming in and out of the neighborhood. And we have a newsletter, and they say what their names are, and I go check the van, and if they're a Democrat, I go offer to see if they'll want to change their address. If they're not, then I don't. So, determining their party affiliation. We will give you some of you know who this is, so I'll see. What I fondly call the Gladys Kravitz kit, because it's the nosy neighbor. So we will give you a one-time reference list of everybody that's registered to vote in your block that you choose. And sometimes you'll be able to figure out if they're a D because they vote straight D for the last few times, or they're an R. And there's a little bit, crossover, so we have to be a little careful about that. And we'll go into that in more detail in further sessions. And then you talk to your friends. Like, have you seen any signs in this person's yard? What do you think this person is? Or, oh yeah, I know these guys. And you just kind of mark up your list. And you pay attention to their bumper stickers and their political signs. And we get real sneaky and start sleuthing around on Facebook and LinkedIn and see if you can find out anything there. Jeremy has Map the Vote, and he's kind of got red and blue on there, so he's got some idea based on VAN what they might be. And it's easier to go knock on a door when you know they're friendly already. So I say, figure out who the D's are, confirm it, and if somebody's a straight up R, then you don't go there. So, and just think of it as a puzzle. You're just putting together, figuring out your little turf. And so the knocking. So this is after you've done what you can, just from being Gladys Kravitz. And then you're going to knock on the door eventually. And what I do is I say, I'm your precinct chair, Lynn, and we have a Democratic club here in the neighborhood. Are you interested in hearing about that? And when it's a no, then or it's a no, I'm a conservative Republican, I'll go, well, that's great, okay, good to know. We need 2 sane parties, thank you very much, and then I toddle off. So, or for example, somebody had Beto signs in their yard this time, and I haven't met them yet, but I go and I say, are you both Democrats? Can I mark you both down, in case it's a split house, because you have everybody's name, not just the house. Or you can use the minivan script, which Carrie will go over a little bit. Just be comfortable. Remember, it's neighbors talking to neighbors. When you say, I live over there in that greenhouse with that green car, they're not going to be really crappy to you, usually. And if they are, put there an R. All right, so this is just to entice you. So we're going to do more training. We'll, roll up our sleeves a little bit more. But be thinking about this. And when you are getting out there doing the step 1 that we're going to talk about, and somebody's like really fired up, like I want to do the most impactful thing I can, tell them about the block captain model and mark them down, and we'll get back to them. So the benefits of a block captain over the cold walking, new phrase, that we did last time, is your boots on the ground in the neighborhood. You know what's going on. You know who the people are. You see them in the driveway. You haven't talked to them yet. You pounce. You walk, you have an opportunity to have a chat. People listen and trust people that they know. It's long-term community building, and you also know what's going on in your neighborhood. If there's a newsletter or something that you should hit to kind of pull some more people in, have some block parties, whatever. You figure it out based on what you know is going on. So in summary, we're doing step 1 today, and we'll get into that next. Remember that the goal is to find every Dem and log that in Van and be thinking about becoming a block captain, or start today, because I know some of you are dying to get your hands on that Gladys Kravitz kit. And when you're walking out with this next step, you can mention this whole block captain thing to people that are fired up. And again, we'll have more training, so we're not just throwing you out there. So I wanted to have some block captains come up and tell you a little bit about their experience. So if you guys can come on up and...
All right. Hello. I live in Precinct 366, and the block that I live on is really not a block. It's really weird and oddly shaped and pretty big. So it was more than I knew that I could handle by myself, but I also knew that I had several neighbors around me whose beliefs aligned with my own. So I recruited them. We were co-block captains, and we just sat down one afternoon and divvied up our neighborhood, and they take care of part, I take care of part, and then the ease of minivan just makes it so that I can see where they've hit, they can see where I've hit, and it just makes it really, really manageable and simple to use. So,
Hi everybody, I'm Gretchen Heber. I'm also in Precinct 366. And when you go to Google and you look up introvert, and so how my precinct chair asked me to knock doors, I don't know, and how I agreed, I don't know. But she asked me to tell you just a little bit about how I was able to finally overcome my huge fear of you guys, people, and do it. So initially, she would go with me, and we'd knock on doors, and I just sat there and listened to her. I didn't really do anything. I just sort of nodded and smiled and wrote things, and I kind of managed the minivan while she did the talking. We did that a couple times, and then I went out with somebody else who wasn't quite as experienced as her, but we were sort of in the same boat and got a little more comfortable. And then finally, I did it all by myself. Yay! So my point is, you can do it. Even if you're on the same page of Google search engine listings as I am under introvert, you can do it, and it is rewarding. People, you start talking and you find out they're just like you. They work full time and they don't really have time, but they know this is important. And so anyway, that's my story. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Betsy. And I had never done anything like this before. I wasn't even someone that paid attention to politics until the election. So what are the benefits that I've gotten out of being a block walker and a block captain? I've made a lot of new friends. I see them all out there. And it's made me pay attention to politics and what I can do personally. I've joined Moms Demand Action. Never did that before. I joined the League of Women Voters. I show up at the Capitol, which I never would have done before. So that's really helped me. And then basically it's given me great relief from TMS. What is TMS? Trump Madness Syndrome.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I'm the block captain for Circle C on the Park, which is Eclipse, Austro Loop, and the cul-de-sacs off the loop. And just to share something pretty awesome with you, I introduced myself recently to 2 different families that moved to Austro Loop, and they had the same story. They said, well, you know, when we were out house hunting, we were really reluctant to even look at Circle C because we just figured it was too conservative, and that's not our jam. So come late October, they were driving around looking at houses, and they decided to brave it and go Austro Loop. And they were amazed and delighted to see all the Democratic candidate signs in the yard. And so both families had just cinched the deal for them. But maybe not so red after all. And they moved. But anyway, so my little drop the mic moment here is, I got those yard signs in those yards.
I'm Christina, and I'm in 354. I'm one of Lynn's block walkers, and I got roped into it by my sister, who's on the other side of the loop, and we just walked together. But we had an event, and it's a picnic, a Democratic picnic, and so having flyers and going out to say, would you like to join us? And then we would find out pretty quickly if they're not going to join us, and we also found out who was going to join us, and then we could invite them to other things. And so it really wasn't as challenging as it might have sounded. It's pretty easy to do, and then once you know who they are, you may have to have some conversations. Sometimes, it's split households, but it's still very fun to find that your community does care, and there's a lot of places to really find some common ground. Mm-hmm. So I encourage it.
All right, thank you. So we'll look forward to all of you signing up to be block captains at some point. Okay.